John took me to training with the first team and I happened to get by Big Jack and he booted me up in the air and lifted me and he was lying in the snow. And he just looked at me, don't do that to me again.
Welcome to the Leeds United show. After 3 games without a win, the team bounced back with victory at Goodison Park at the weekend in another remarkable performance this season. This week we'll be assessing that win and looking ahead to the trip to Chelsea with Leeds United legend Eddie Gray. We're also going to be getting the fans' perspective on the games and finding out more about the work the club are doing in the local community. Eddie Gray joins us live on Zoom. Eddie, thank you so much for joining us on the Leeds United show. I guess we've got to start with the great result against Everton, haven't we? Much needed as well, that wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I thought we played tremendously well against Everton. Right for the start of the game. I mean, first couple of minutes, you know, a lot of apprehensive. But after that, we dominated the game. We dominated the midfield area, which was very important against Everton because they've got players, you know, up front, it can cause you problems. You let them get too much of the ball. But that never happened, and we completely controlled the game. I think the biggest disappointment for us, coming towards the end of the game, that we weren't further clear. You know, the game wasn't finished. You know, we win the game by the odd goal, but probably should have been about 3 or 4. But in saying that, to go to Goodison, which is not a happy hunting ground for Leeds United, I mean, we never get great results at Goodison. It was a tremendous result. And I think it typified how the team have approached games this year. They approach every game in the same manner. Sometimes it's not going to work, as you look at some of the results, goals we've conceded. But overall, I think everybody's got to be delighted with performances this season. I know I am. I think they've played tremendously well. And they've been great entertainment for everybody. I think that's the thing about it. I mean, people enjoy watching the football club. People are talking about the football club again, the manner in which they play the game and how they approach games, the physical effort they put in the game, and as well as the talent. So far, it's all looking good.
Yep, so far so good, Eddie. But you mentioned about winning that midfield battle. One man in particular, Calvin, and over your career especially, you've played with arguably the greats of the club. How highly do you rate Calvin, but his importance to this team as well, Eddie?
Yeah, you know, I rate Calvin very highly. I mean, I think he's always, you know, for a young player, you could see that he had talent. But I think Marcelo Bielsa's brought that talent out. I mean, the last few seasons, I think he's been tremendous. And I think he's so important to the football club, Ben. I mean, he's had a little bit of criticism, you know, for his lack of goals. But the thing about Calvin knows his job in the Leeds United team. There's so many players in the team. They bomb forward, they get beyond front men, the 2 full-backs go forward. So Calvin knows that if anything breaks down, he's the man that's got to be there to stop people from getting at the back 4. And he does a tremendous job. I mean, I think you only need to look at a couple of games they missed, Ben, to let you know how important it is for the football club. In saying that, he's not just a defensive midfield player, Calvin. He starts so many attacks. He's a great striker of the ball, great passer of the ball. His long-range passing is tremendous, and that sets us up in a lot of attacks for deep, and that helps us, in a way, to get at teams quickly, because he's great at knocking the ball from right to left to the left flank, great knocking it from the left side to the right flank, and we can get at teams quickly through his range of passing. But I think the most important job for him now is controlling that midfield area and sensing where dangers are. You know, if we're attacking down the right side, he'll push across in case it breaks down, so he can be the first man to get a challenge in and stop other teams getting at us quickly. And that suits us. He's so important to the team just now. And as I said, you only need to look at the couple of games he never played, Ben, to realise how important he is.
And let's talk about Rafinha as well, because of course, Eddie, a great goal to win the game, but a great performance as well. What was your opinion on his performance?
I thought he played very well. And, you know, getting back to what Ben spoke about Calvin Phillips being so important, because with Calvin sitting there, it gives players like Rafinha, you know, and Harrison and people like that, it gives them the licence to go forward, to to express themselves, knowing that if it breaks down, and that's the one thing I like about players like Rafinha and a number of the players now. If they make a mistake, it doesn't worry them. They go on with it. They keep trying things, and that's something I think Marcelo Bielsa has impressed upon the players. You keep trying things. It's like you've 10 shots at goal. You might hit the corner flag with 9 of them, but the 10th one might get in the back of the net. And I think that's the philosophy on the game. You keep trying things, you keep expressing yourself, using your ability. And I think that's what happened with Rafinha. He was unlucky a couple of times, but he kept, trying to get into good areas, and he got the reward with his goal. Yeah, I thought he was tremendous. And I think it suits him floating about the pitch, turning up right side, left side, through the centre of the pitch where he scored his goal from. Coming in for wide areas as well. We've seen the header he had. He settled in very quickly. A lot quicker than actually I thought he would. When I first seen him, I thought it would take him a little bit of time. But I think he's got used to the paces of the Premier League. I think he's comfortable with the players he's playing with and comfortable in his own game. And I think he'll go from strength to strength because he is a very talented player.
And let's talk about the league as a whole as well, Eddie, because we've seen some crazy results in the Premier League. What are your thoughts on it so far?
The Premier League is a terrific league. I mean, the quality of the play in some of the games you watch is good to watch. I think the biggest disappointment for everybody, and I think we've all got to admit, that it's not the same without fans there. I think the fans bring the best out in players. They bring, the excitement to the game, and that adrenaline gets to the players and it spurs them on at times, especially at a place like Ellen Road. And I've got to say, I mean, I've played at Goodison at times, and Goodison's one of the great football grounds to play football because of the atmosphere. But when it probably suited us at the weekend to go to Goodison without a crowd. And I think it's the same for most clubs. But, I still think, the Premier League, I think it'll keep improving. And once crowds start to come back, I think the biggest disappointment for us now is when we go down to Chelsea, they're going to have a few thousand fans there. And the funny thing about that is that people say that there'll not be much noise. There'll be a tremendous noise because the 2,000 Chelsea supporters, the noise will be echoing all around the ground. So it'd be the same at Ellen Road. If we went to Ellen Road and played against somebody with 2,000 fans, they'd be trying to make sure that it was going to get more exciting, and shout louder for the side.
Well, Eddie, talk to us about, obviously, the next fixture, the game away at Chelsea, because like you say, we're going to see a few thousand fans there. This is a fixture that you're very aware of, you've been a huge part of. There's going to be that bit of extra added spice in this, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, over the seasons, going back to when I played, and that's a long time ago, there was always a lot of rivalry between the two sides. And it's that north-south. It's when you go to Tottenham, you go to Arsenal, you go to clubs like Chelsea, you're going to be in for a tough time. And Chelsea have started the season very, very well. They're probably a little bit disappointed with the performance against Tottenham Hotspur at the weekend. And I think we can cause them problems. But obviously, like most of the sides in the Premier League are definitely the sides at the top end of the Premier League. They've got players that can hurt you. They've got players of top quality, got world-class ability. They've got pace in the side. And that's why when we go there on Saturday, we've got to be at our best. But I think the good thing about our team just now is I don't think they fear Andy. I don't think going to Stamford Bridge and playing against Chelsea will be any different for them, like going to Goodison and playing against Everton. I think they'll approach the game in the same manner. I think they're capable of getting a result. But as I said earlier, when you go to places like that, everybody's got to be on song. You've got to be your best to get a result. But I don't see any reason, after watching the game at Goodison and watching them playing against Manchester City and Arsenal at Ellen Road, when we were unfortunate not to win the game, I don't see any reason why we can't go and get a result. And saying that, like every Leeds United fan and everybody connected with the club, we know it's going to be a difficult game. But most games are difficult in the Premier League. But the way we set up, the way we approach games, the confidence they have in each other, the players, I think they'll be going into that game thinking that even though we're playing against one of the top sides in the country, we're good enough to get a result against them.
Well, Eddie, you mentioned about the no fear factor there, and currently we sit around the mid-table point. So, what's a realistic aim in your opinion for the season? What we can achieve?
Well, Ben, I'm a great believer in thinking positive, and I think the players will be thinking positive. I mean, I think the players will be looking at it and thinking, well, if we get a result, against Chelsea away from home, a couple of home games coming up, I think they've got to be looking. I mean, I'm looking at the top half of the table. I mean, I know it's going to be difficult. There will be a few games will probably come unstuck, but the way they play the game, I mean, when you actually look at it for the start of the season, the games were played, the clubs were played. When you think we've played Arsenal, we've played Liverpool, we've played Manchester City, we've played top sides, we're hovering around mid-table. I think we're improving, and I think that's a good thing about the side. I think you've seen it against Arsenal, Everton, we're improving as a unit, improving as a side. I think the only thing that just concerns you a little bit, for all the chances we're creating, chances we're making, the possession of the ball we're getting, we're just got to be a little bit more clinical. And if that starts to come into our game, then I think you're definitely looking at the top half of the table, Ben. But, that's me looking through my Leeds United eyes.
Oh, I think many people would say they're realistic eyes, wouldn't you, Ben?
I'd certainly agree with that.
We won't keep you too much longer, Eddie, but of course the FA Cup draw, we saw that earlier this week, and Leeds United are going to be facing Crawley. What are your thoughts on that fixture?
Oh, Emma, I don't know if it's a good thing for us or not. We've came unstuck so many times against sides from lower divisions. I remember even when I played, we were top team in the country, and we got knocked out of the FA Cup with Colchester. It was like an amazing result for them. So I think when you look at the draw, you've got to say it's a great chance for us to progress. But you go to these games, and Ben will know yourself, a couple of non-league clubs we've played, and disappointing some of the results. But I mean, it's a great draw for Crawley, for us to go there. They'll be looking forward to it. I'm sure that, I mean, when you look at the FA Cup now, and with the sides that are playing in Europe, and, a lot of teams, as we know, they play so-called weekend sides, but I don't really know if they are weak now, because most of these clubs have got 20, 25 players that can step in on any occasion. But I think it's an opportunity for clubs like Leeds United, to progress in the FA Cup. So it's a good draw from that point of view. I will say though, like even saying that, the teams in Europe usually play so-called weekend sides. But if you actually look at the record in the FA Cup in previous years, it's usually all the big clubs that win it again. So it is an opportunity for us to progress in the FA Cup. It's a decent draw. It's a good draw for Crawley as well, as I said.
It certainly is. And Eddie, we heard as well earlier this week, the East Stand is going to be renamed the Jack Charlton Stand. It's a great honour, isn't it, that for a great man?
Yeah, and rightly so. I mean, Jack played more games than anybody for Leeds United. He was an icon at the club. He was the first player in the Don Revie so-called era to join the club as well. Jack joined the club in the early 50s, and he was there for a long time. Great player for the football club, great player for his country, as we know, a World Cup winner, revered in the Republic of Ireland as a manager, as a character. And Jack was a character. He was a great man to play with. I remember as a 14-year-old coming down on trial, December 1962, and Don took me to training with the first team, and I happened to get by Big Jack, and he booted me up in the air and left me, and he was lying in the snow. And he just looked at me, don't do that to me again. And they'll tell you the other word they said to me. But yeah, Jack was a character. And great man to play with. You know, and part of the Leeds United history. And Big Jack's a part of football history. You know, a bit like his brother Bobby. You know, the two tremendous players for England, two different types of character and players. But Big Jack will always be remembered for. Big Jack was, you know, a man of the people. You know, he would get into a pub for a pint with anybody, Jack. You know, even when he was at Leeds.
Some fantastic stories, Eddie. Really, really highly thought of. A legend, like you say, of the club, but also a legend of the game. We unfortunately lost last week in Diego Maradona. A lot of people regard him as the greatest player ever. How highly do you rate him? Is he the greatest in your eyes?
Oh well, he's definitely. I think he's the second best player I've ever seen, Ben. I've got to be honest. I mean, I know things were a little bit. It were tougher then for players to play, especially players like Diego. But he's definitely up there. I mean, you can toss a coin between 2 or 3 players. I mean, I remember, you know, years ago, you know, when you know I was still hovering around Leeds and watching Maradona play, and it was something else. I think you only need to look at him when he was a little kid playing football, his enjoyment playing football, what he did for his country, but even more so, because Argentina had won the World Cup in '78, they always produced players, not at the standard of Diego, but top-class players in world football. But what he achieved at Napoli, who had never won the league, come for the south. I mean, you can't walk down the street in Napoli without seeing a mural of Diego Maradona. And it's the same in Argentina. And very, very sad. I mean, people talk about a hand of God goal and against England. But when you look at the second goal he scored, I mean, there's only 2 players that I've ever seen that could score a goal for that position. And I've seen, you know, Diego Maradona's one, but I've also seen Lionel Messi scoring a goal for the same position. You know, and they're the 2 players that I think are the top of the world football players that I've seen. You've got to throw Pele in there as well. But there's been a lot of great players that have played the game, but Diego Maradona is definitely up there. And for all his, you know, so-called faults, he brought joy to millions and millions of people. You know, when you look at the performances he put in, how he played the game, it was just tremendous to watch. And it's just sad when these players go, Ben. But he left the memories. As Lionel Messi says himself, he's eternal.
Absolutely. Eddie, thank you so much for joining us on the Leeds United show. Hopefully we'll get to see you sooner rather than later. For real.
Nice to see you two again.
This week, Leeds United announced details of their commitment to the local community around Ellen Road. The club's foundation have been working with local groups to offer support and their expertise, while some of the club staff, including many currently furloughed, have been volunteering for the schemes. We went along to find out a little bit more.
It's a powerful message that organisations like Leeds United can make such a difference to the local community and support local charities, and that network of us working together, the synergy of it, great outcomes.
Hello Colin, how are you? I am Victor. I am called you from Holbeck Together. How are you, my friend? One of the best strikers in the history of football, eh? Leeds United needs Leeds and Leeds United needs Holbeck.
Holbeck Together is a community anchor, and it supports all generations in Holbeck, providing support and activities to enable people not to be so socially isolated, to make more informed choices, and to enable them to access and signpost other agencies if necessary.
The most important for me is they bring to the city and to Holbeck a lot of happiness. No problem for me, no problem. Hope you continue okay, my friend?
So I'm here today because we have an opportunity to support the community in which we live through a number of local organisations. The stadium sits in one of the most deprived areas in the UK. We must do our part, and we've adapted that opportunity by basically asking staff from Leeds United the club and from Leeds United the foundation to volunteer some time to community organisations like this one who really need resource and support at this time.
We run a non-means tested self-referral food bank, which means if you give us a call or you come to our door and you say you need food, then we give you food. There's 6 of us on our core team, so we work with an army of volunteers who pack food in the container behind us, which was kindly given to us, supported by Clipper and Leeds United Foundation. One of the positives that's come out of this challenging period has been that people have felt empowered to ask for help. The support that we've had from Leeds United, from Clipper, from Real Junk Food and other charities around the city that have helped us and supported us has been absolutely crucial.
So at the moment we've got around 40 of our staff who are volunteering their time. We've got people doing 15 hours a week, making sure that pure voluntary organisations are able to operate by putting some resource and some capacity into them. And we've had a great response from our staff, but actually it's all about this organisation and the others that we work with.
Since COVID in March, there's been an increased demand for our services. One of those increased demands has been outreaching to the members of the community because they can't engage with each other. They're becoming more socially isolated with mental health issues, having to stay home alone. And so our meal service, as an example, has been a huge increase in demand for it. And Leeds United from day one, even when you had 3,000 packets of crisps, they turned to us to give us them. And it's all the little things of actually enabling us to fulfil the need that is even in more demand at the moment.
What year did you start supporting?
Oh, I started going when my dad was. But my dad actually played for him.
Okay. We've got a lot of staff now who aren't fully employed. You know, the whole of the ticket office, the whole of our retail department who are in lockdown don't have a full-time job. And we're just conscious that we want to make the best use of them, give them something meaningful and to do. And so we're looking at initiatives with our community partners, with Holbeck Together, with Slung Low, to get back out into the community and try and add some value.
Been nice to get back into the stadium. Been a beautiful morning, beautiful. Fetched back a lot of memories. One thing missing, crowd.
Beautiful, isn't it?
He's learnt me a few things that I didn't know about the club, and I've learnt him a few things that he didn't know about the club. Been lovely. I'm going to take some photos of these. Are you all right?
Yeah, of course, yeah, take some shots.
They've been great. I ain't got the words to thank them enough for it, because they've been great with this community in Holbeck, well all over. And staff and all. You know, they've kept us going all in this lockdown. They've just kept Holbeck alive.
It's not a problem that's going to go away. So part of the scheme that I'm looking to develop, and we are committed to as a club and a foundation, is actually that volunteering into our community becomes a core offer, regardless of what happens with COVID. I'm very concerned that the general public might assume that once we've got vaccines that everything's back to normal, and it really won't be for communities like this. So this is a long-term opportunity for us, and as I mentioned, this is one of 3 organisations that we're supporting so far, but the number of organisations that we're able to volunteer in will continue to grow as well.
Ben, this just shows, doesn't it, the importance of the community to the club long term as well.
Again, it's not short term, it's not due to COVID or lead up to the Christmas period. It's a long-term thing because people have long-term issues or problems that they need help with. So these schemes, these projects are vital for in and around the community, in and around Holbeck, and for our club, our people who work for the club to go and help out at such a critical time. It just speaks volumes for where the club is at the moment.
And obviously you work with the Leeds United Foundation, so you see firsthand, don't you, the impact that this actually has on people?
That's huge. It's like I said, it's vital. It really, really is. It's people who are getting out food, for example, people who might not be getting a meal at this time of year. and the under-18 squad are actually going end of this week to go help out at Holbeck together and Slunglow just to kind of get a feel and a sense of what it's actually like, because sometimes as a young professional you don't really get to see what it's like out in the community. So for these young players to go see it, for a lot of the furlough staff as well to be part of it, it's so uplifting and rewarding that you're generally making a difference to someone's life.
Finally this week, Ben's been chatting to some members of our fans panel to get their thoughts on that win over Everton and the trip to Stamford Bridge.
Well, we know we can't stand still in football. We could speak about the Everton performance and result all day long, but there's another big game coming up at the weekend. And Christian, obviously the attention turns to Frank Lampard's Chelsea, and when you put Frank Lampard in the sentence with a fixture coming up against ourselves, everyone raises the eyebrows, the attention comes straight away. How do you see the game?
I'm so happy that we're playing Chelsea in a Premier League fixture for the first time since 2004. You know, we had I think we've had the one cup game since, and that's been about it. So it's fantastic to be playing, you know, big Premier League games like this again. You know, obviously they've got a very expensively assembled squad, some absolutely fantastic players there, but you know, given how we've played against, as Arvin said, like teams against Liverpool and teams against Manchester City, you know, I'm not in any way concerned about playing them. You know, I think we'll stand up to the test, and I think we will do what we always do. We'll look to press on, and you know, I hope that Rafinha can keep up the way he's been playing the last couple of games. You know, I back him to cause them a few problems.
Arvin, do you see the same way? Do we just go out and play like we normally do? Don't park the bus or anything like that?
No, it's going to be very different to what Jose did over the weekend. I honestly believe we will take it to them, and we probably will get a goal at least. I mean, Chelsea have got great defensive record. I think it's like 6 and 7 clean sheets since Mendy has gone over. But we will take it to them, and if you take it to them, there is an opportunity to exploit them. So we won't be like Jose, and we won't be like a lot of other teams. Obviously, we'll show them the respect for what they are, and they're, like you said, expensively assembled squad, and being a Premier League team for so long and champions for the last couple of years ago and such. But we will take it to them, and there's nothing to fear, because we've shown that there's nothing to fear in any of the teams that we play.
Certainly not, and that no fear factor we've seen over the course of the season, just how well we can play and get results off back of that. So on the basis of that, Arvind, gives us a score prediction and how you see the game kind of going.
I'm leaning towards a score draw. I honestly believe that we won't lose, because we've been on a good momentum since Phillips came back. Like Christian said, Phillips is such a security blanket for us. Everyone goes forward, and he's that one person that snuffs out the danger and goes back into that third centre-back pairing whenever our right back and left back bomb forward. So for me, it's going to be a low-scoring 1-1 draw.
I can't dream of us not taking all 3 points against Chelsea, so I'm going to go with a 2-1 win.
To see more from the fans panel, check out the official Leeds United YouTube channel. We'll be back next week for more Leeds United chat. Stay tuned to LUTV this week with plenty of build-up to the Chelsea game.